I love the world today for entrepreneurs. There's so many incredible tools, right? Like Forecastr that help make everything from your back office to your dev stack just that much easier. Let me ask you a question though.
Yep.
So many times when I talk to founders, they're focused on, all right, like concept validation, product validation, they're proving problem solution fit. They're focused on research. They're focused on figuring out, does anybody care about the thing that I want to solve in the world? When do they start thinking about the need for a financial model? Is there an outside trigger?
Yeah, so the outside trigger is fundraising. That's
Yeah,
like our hook whenever it comes to acquiring customers. Is typically the story goes, I need to pitch an investor, or worst case, an investor asked me for a financial model and I, deer in the headlights, didn't know what they were talking about. So I rushed to go find out whatever I needed to do, and usually they end up at
sure.
our doorstep. So that's usually the hook point. But whenever I think about when founders should start thinking about financial modeling, it's actually a little bit before they start to fundraise. And I'll kind of share a story to hopefully illustrate some of this. So whenever Forecastr was in its infancy, whenever Forecastr was still an idea that Steven, my co-founder, and I had, we were trying to formulate how we were going to charge for it. And we didn't know, should we go the premium route? Should we just charge $50 a month, $100 a month? Or should we do a freemium, or like, what should that look like? So our original goal, because it was kind of a wide open space, there really wasn't any softwares out there that were trying to tackle this problem. We thought, let's go freemium, right? That makes sense. Let's just get as many customers as we can. Let's monetize them and let's grow. And we, because we're finance people, we immediately went to the spreadsheets at that time and built out
Sure.
a financial model. And we quickly, I mean, this was like first week of the idea, realized that a freemium model wasn't going to work. Right? Because whenever you actually model it out, whenever you assume maybe 5-10% of the people that use you actually pay for you, the number of startups that you would need to have using a product like this, it would be like in the tens of millions for us to achieve our goals. So before we did anything, before we tried to sell it anything, we immediately pivoted in our minds and we were like, okay, check that box off. This is not going to be a freemium product. We're going to have to go do something else. And the reason that I share that and why that's important is most founders would have to find that out on the battlefield, right? Like whenever they're
Yep.
actually out selling, they would find that out way down the line, versus whenever you do a process of building a financial model, you can uncover things way before you actually start to act on them. And that to me is one of the biggest values of a financial model. It's a simulation of your business once you build it. And then you can kind of play things out that you're just theorizing today into, okay, what does this look like 3 years, 5 years down the line? And is this even possible? And a lot of times, one of the biggest pieces of value that we can add to clients, and we do this all the time, is we'll model something out and we'll come to the conclusion, if you're really early, hey, for you to hit your goals, you're going to need to get 70% market penetration based off of the number of potential customers that are out there. So immediately that signals in the mind of the founder, hey, maybe this isn't the route to take. This seems like a very difficult path. And then you can kind of shift and change based off of that insight. So long-winded answer by saying the hook point is typically fundraising, but we recommend that you actually start this process earlier than that to try to get some gains from it.
Well, it makes total sense. And I love that answer. And it was funny because you also hit all of the beats of a really experienced founder pitching and telling their story, right? You had the problem and the pain point and the future vision and the solution. And it makes a lot of sense. What is the reception when you start having conversations with founders? Do they get it? Or do you have to kind of navigate them through a bit of a learning journey?
Yeah, there's definitely a navigation aspect of it. I mean, usually the mindset, and this is something that we're constantly battling at Forecastr, and really, I would say a lot of these relatively newer softwares that are out there are facing the same problem, which is like a cultural shift, a cultural mindset shift around financial modeling, specifically for startups. So you've probably heard this, Ian, working with a lot of startups. I certainly hear it all the time, which is this mindset of fundraising, or I'm sorry, not fundraising, forecasting is just a waste of time. Building a financial model for any kind of a startup is a complete waste of time because we don't have data. Who can predict the future? I don't know what's going to happen in the next week, let alone the next 5 years.
We're going to pivot 7 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're constantly having to battle this negative mindset around financial modeling. Investors say that every now and then as well. Of, how can I trust what is in these 5-year projections? And the truthful answer is you really can't, right? If you are super early, the revenue that you're predicting in years 3, 4, and 5 are more or less meaningless. But that doesn't matter because that's not why you're doing this. That's not the
Yeah.
purpose of the exercise. The purpose of the exercise is to make sure that you have a nuanced understanding of your revenue formula, for you to understand how many customers you actually need to acquire on a month-to-month basis in order for you to hit your goals, for you to understand how much cash you need to raise, what are your short-term goals, your medium-term. It's a goal-setting tool. And one of the things that I always say is it's like creating a roadmap for your success. So if you want to sell, for example, your company for $100 million, let's say that's your goal, and let's say you time bound that goal. You say, I want to sell this company for 100 million in 5 years. I can, using financial modeling, give you a detailed monthly roadmap of everything you need to do in order to
Yep.
hit those goals, and get it to the infinite level of detail. So it's back solving to success more than it is trying to guess what's going to happen next, which is what most people think forecasting is about. It's not. It's a goal setting framework. It is a manifestation of your own destiny. So there's a bit of a friction point typically when people get started. So you have to go through that spiel of, we're not using this to try to guess what's going to happen next, because we already covered that. We don't know what's going to happen next. But what we can do is set goals for ourselves, set goals for our employees, set goals for our investors, and manage to those goals. And that is what a financial model is all about, especially in the early days, whenever you're still trying to figure things out.
Well, I think that's a really important insight for a lot of people, right? This is a tool and a framework to help you understand your goals, your business, et cetera. And it's really interesting. Like, this is actually a really timely conversation we're sitting here in early April. And I don't know about you, but I do occasionally get sucked into the cesspool that is the social media site formerly known as Twitter.
Oh yeah.
And my feed has something of a debate on this topic recently. I don't know if you've seen this, but I think half my feed are VCs and founders arguing about the need of a financial model. And Jenny Fielding just posted 2 days ago, financial models are back. And, saying like, investors are asking for them. They're back. Do you
Yep.
agree?
I totally agree. So fast forward 5 years ago. And that's not that long ago. When everything, 5 years ago is not that long ago, and that was right around the time where we were just ideating on Forecastr. Things were just getting started.
Yeah.
Back then, you really didn't need a financial model to get a fundraise done, especially whenever you're really early, kind of pre-seed, seed stage. You can get deals done all the time without a financial model.
Yep.
And it was relatively, I would say back then, rare that a financial model was a major point of early due diligence. Now, today, we're sitting here in 2024. What we've seen is that a financial model is becoming significantly higher priority in due diligence for investors. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And there's a lot of theory behind that. I don't think that anybody's got like the golden answer for exactly why this is. My opinion on it is that the opinion about financial modeling is slowly changing. And I think that that's because there are these new entrants into the market. So Forecastr is becoming more popular, but there are other companies like Pry, like Finmark, like Causal. There's becoming this suite of solutions that are becoming available for founders all around financial modeling. So that does two things. One, it takes your excuse away, right? Nobody can say I
Yep.
can't build a financial model because there's just too many options now. You have too many outs to get a financial model built relatively cheaply. So there's just no excuse to not have one. So I think that that's one, and that might even be the bigger reason. But the second reason, I think, is because there's so much activity with new companies being created in FP&A. There's a lot more attention being focused on the financial model, and people are actually starting to look at it a little bit more closely, and they're realizing that there is value in a financial model. Like, is it going to be a perfect representation of exactly what's going to happen for a pre-seed company? Absolutely not. Of course not. That's just ridiculous to think. But does that mean that it has no value at all? Of course not. That's not what that means either. The answer is somewhere in the middle, where there is value in it. It is a founder's best guess at that point in time of what they hope to achieve. And is that and it is a numerical narrative of that best guess using finance and metrics. So I think investors are starting to warm up to this being something that is actually very valuable in due diligence. And like I said, there's just no excuse for not having one anymore. So I think both of those things together are causing this.